JayDevin uploaded a video. It's been so long.
I know, believe me, I know. But battlers, I'm back and good and ready to make some content for Sinister. So if you are as excited as I am to get back into this, smash like, it helps the channel a lot, and let's get into this video. Now, if you are just here to see these battles for Sinister, I'm gonna go ahead and put the timestamp somewhere over here, probably right over there. You can go ahead and skip forward to that portion of the video and enjoy the battles. But if you would like a very brief summary of where I have been, this part of the video is for you. As you probably know, I have so much passion and dedication for PokémonGo PvP and for the PvP community as a whole. I've made so many graphics. I started a Twitch channel. I started this YouTube channel, all for PokémonGo PvP. And to summarize everything that's been going on, I lost sight of other important things in my life because of all the time and resources that I dedicated into PvP. Other areas in my life started to suffer, and they suffered a lot. Namely, some close, personal, very, very important relationships. So, you know, with that being said, I don't really have to go into too much detail. I really had to get my priorities straight for a bit. What was it, a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, something like that. And, you know, it really wasn't a matter of mental health. It was just that I was not paying attention to relationships and I was not investing into relationships like I should have. And it's not that I don't value relationships. It's that I was so hyper focused, you know, laser beam focused on the PvP community and PokémonGo PvP, becoming an esport. And those are still massive passions for me. And, you know, if you're still listening to this part of the video at this point, I guess the takeaway is just because you are super passionate and dedicated to something doesn't mean that has to be basically the only thing that you focus on. It doesn't have to work that way. It was a hard lesson for me to learn. It still is a hard lesson. Times are rough. Things are getting a little better. You know, I guess you can look forward to uploads again. You can look forward to streams again. It's just not going to be as often. But at this point, since I finally did get that off my chest on my channel, at least publicly, let's go ahead and get into the PvP portion of the video. Now, as far as my channel, I definitely am behind the curve, I guess, for the Sinister Cup. So I'm not going to try and do a meta deep dive or, you know, what's best with what. We already know what's going on with Sinister. We're just going to do some battles. All right. Is that okay? If it is okay, smash like. Now, all these things over here towards the side, I know they're just kind of blank spaces right now. Up there, you're going to see a circle. That's simply just going to be this. That's where I'm just going to put the badge so we know what theme it is. I mean, you can probably already tell with the background, but whatever. That's the badge, okay? Now, right in the middle here, this blank spot is going to be the game screen. It's going to be where the battles are played. But to the right of that, on the bottom, is going to be simply, for right now, the PvPoke rankings in the Great League for the overall Sinister Cup for Ghost-type Pokemon, okay? Now, towards the bottom, you can see Miss Magius is a little bit cut off. I'm not too worried about that. I don't really consider Miss Magius a meta pick or anything viable by any means. I mean, it definitely has some use if you have one that's good to go and you're kind of restricted on your Stardust budget to invest in something like, you know, Drifblim or Banette or Dusclops. It's still usable, but other options are strictly better. Like you can see, Alolan Marowak is number 1, Haunter, Drifblim, Banette, etc. But again, you already know about all the rankings and the meta. I'm not going to dive into that. That's just what I decided to throw there, okay? It looks good. And the 2 blank spaces right above that are going to be 4 teams. My team will be on the left, their team and or your team will be on the right of that. This person is very skilled at PvP. As far as rankings, I definitely feel they are severely underranked for their performance in my scrims with them. But we'll look at their team and of course the battles here in just a minute. These battles were about a week to a week and a half ago. I think these were pre-changes to the move sets and what's available now on Pokemon Go with the latest PvP update, right? On my team there, I'm going to have Empoleon, Gardevoir, Mawile, Drifblim, Bastiodon, and Primeape. At this point, my team is not the same. This is still kind of a solid team overall for the most part. I wouldn't necessarily say this is going to be a common team composition, and that's because number 1, I do not have a Poliwrath that I'm using, and also number 2, I don't currently have a Steelix in this lineup or an Alolan Marowak, which, you know, considerably are some of the best Pokemon by far for Sinister. I don't have any of them. So, you know, it's kind of an off-meta team. Not really, because it is still a meta team, but, you know, it's lesser used Pokemon, which is kind of what I like to do sometimes. I think it's more fun and it's more entertaining. But anyways, let's take a look at their team. Banette, Alolan Marowak, Steelix, Poliwrath, Dusclops, and then also Lucario, which is kind of an off-meta fighter pick in my opinion. I mean, I think just personally he has too many weaknesses at this point in the meta to really be considered a meta pick. But, you know, at the time, again, these were pre-update teams. But I just had to throw that out there, you know, for some context. Here we are. We're going to dive right in, I guess, you know, to this best of 3 against Gladiator McD. Gladiator McD actually added me at a local tournament a few months ago. He was very flattering. It was really good to add him, and I don't regret adding Gladiator at all because our battles back and forth have been really enjoyable. Okay, now I open up with the Empoleon. I caught the Steelix lead, which is really lucky for me considering our team compositions when you look at each other. He swaps into his Poliwrath. Now I'm going to actually swap into the Primeape because counter with the Legacy Cross Chop can be, you know, really spammy. I don't remember if it was Gladiator McD or not, or someone else that I scrimmed against, but it's so spammy. The counter and the Cross Chop combination goes out quick. And the advantage with Legacy Primeape, if you have Cross Chop, is Night Slash is also pretty spammy. It's not, in other metas, it's not an ideal moveset at all. He takes out my Primeape, obviously, at that point, but I still have this Empoleon good to go with the shield for this Steelix, ready to absorb that Earthquake, so I don't have to worry about that. He swaps into his Marowak. Now I'm like, okay, you're either going to use the shield or you're going down, because I got off the Hydro Pump. I don't have any shields left, and Bone Club here, as you can see, is still going to be super effective. I know that's kind of counterintuitive. You would think, you know, a Water-type Pokemon would resist Ground-type moves. That's not the case. That's not the case because it's part steel typing. It's still going to be taking super effective. Now, we have our shiny balloon, right? Drifblim here sitting in the back. We have Hex, Ominous Wind, and then Shadow Ball. We go for the W with just the Ominous Wind against the Steelix. I don't want to risk taking a crunch. And you see we were pretty lucky too. We got a TM from that battle. So GG's. Let's go to the next battle. So game 1 against Gladiator McD, I think it went okay. My team composition and the strategy that I had in mind kind of was executed perfectly against his team. He opens with the Lucario. I open up with the Gardevoir. Now, I can still basically eliminate Banette, even though it's going to deal super effective and deal massive damage to Gardevoir. But Banette's just so squishy, I'm able to TKO it just with Charm, right? So he has this Alolan Marowak. Now he's locked into this battle at this point because of the time clock, right? He can't switch out. So I'm going to go to town with the Bite. I'm going to invest the shield. I'm going to get rid of the Alolan Marowak. And the only thing he's going to have left is this Lucario. I'm going straight for the Iron Head at this point. I just want to end the battle. I mean, it's pretty much done no matter what at this point. I just want it to be over with, but we're still going to play it out. You know, you never really know what's going to happen for sure, right? Especially since my Gardevoir has like nothing left. I pull a quick swap. I thought it was well executed and I was like, okay, I just had a super clutch PvP moment. I'm not exactly sure what happened, to be honest, because it did kind of seem to me like there was lag on their end. I'm not sure if it would have worked out differently no matter what, though. I think the outcome would have been the same and I would have won. But hey, it is what it is. GG's game 2. Let's go to game 3. All right, game 3 against Gladiator McD. What is going to happen? As you know, the Silph Arena did update their rules for tournament play. So it's no longer just who wins the best of 3. It's not if you win 2, then that's it. You're gonna play 3 games every time no matter what, which I'm kind of a fan of that. I really don't like the fact that, you know, it's gonna take longer, but I have my reasons. We can talk about that some other time. But I swap out at this point. I wanted to see if I could, you know, pull a sneaky on him and absorb kind of the Shadow Punch into something neutral, which it worked out. I timed it well. It was successful. Not the most ideal thing, though, at the end of the day, because Steelix, I mean, hashtag Steelix is good. Shout out to Jimma Banks as always. Steelix is just so OP and so dominating, in my opinion, for Sinister, that even though Dragon Tail does virtually nothing to Mawile, it's still not going to be an ideal matchup because Mawile's still a little squishy, and if you don't have shields and Steelix gets to the Earthquake, it's going to TKO you. So Steelix is still even a good threat in that matchup. Now, I have 2 shields. I don't know why I did not shield there. You can see my Primeape just ate that Earthquake. That was kind of a scrub move. Don't do that. You got the shield. Use the shield. Don't bank on them using a not very effective move. Use the shield. Anyways, he has the Poliwrath. I'm anticipating he had Ice Punch. It was a good thing I shielded it because he did have Ice Punch. Now, at this point, I have to invest another shield. against the Shadow Punch from the Dusclops, because that'd be very bad news. I'm hoping at that point that I could hex it down and then do some work against the Poliwrath. That was not the case. He got to the Shadow Punch pretty quick. I believe he does have Hex, which in my opinion is the right move to go with. But anyways, GG's, Gladiator McD. Now, out of all the battles that I've done recently, I decided to feature these particular battles for two reasons. One, because I'm not sure if I featured Gladiator McD before or not, and I really felt that he deserves enough justice. He's a good enough battler. Absolutely, he needs to be featured, needs to get on the channel. But more importantly, I did want to highlight the utility of Empoleon as a pick for this cup, as well as to highlight the utility of Primeape, Legacy Primeape, as a pick for this cup. As far as Legacy, Cross Chop is the way to go. You don't necessarily need Karate Chop. In fact, Counter is just so OP. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where if you want it to be the best that it can be, you're going to have to TM the Legacy Karate Chop over to Counter on the Primeape to utilize him to the best of his ability for the Sinister Cup. You know, metas regardless, I'm just a collector of Legacy Pokemon. Unfortunately, at this point, I still do not have a Shadow Ball Haunter. I'm haunting relentlessly to try and find somebody who can trade one, but I feel like it's one of those legacies that's so hard to find and acquire. I feel like it's starting to get virtually impossible. You know, I've messaged groups and everything, and it just hasn't happened. Anyways, it's not a huge deal. I'll find one eventually someday, one way or another. I will get my hands on a Legacy Shadow Ball Haunter. Another message for the meta, I guess, in this video, if that's what you want, is the picks between Steelix and Bastiodon. Now, it might be different for you, but in my experience, I'm only going to use one or the other. In very rare situations would I ever want to bring Steelix and Bastiodon on the same team of 6. Now, that might just be me thinking too much. If there are some insane strategies that you know about, please throw it in the comments below. Let's discuss it. But during these best of 3s, I opted for Bastiodon because of what he shuts down. He can basically be a ghost counter. He can take care of Haunter. He can take care of Drifblim and Dusclops and Alola Marowak, depending on shields. But just his utility and his role overall, I felt like he was a better pick at the time. Now, at this point, when I'm recording this video, I still kind of stand by that. Bastiodon has a role, but I put Steelix in that role instead. And, you know, essentially this is what my team looks like right now, save for the fact that I have taken Bastiodon out of there. I have replaced him with Steelix, as well as one other change, which I can't remember off the top of my head right now. My point is, I constantly go back and forth between should I use Bastiodon or should I use Steelix. Now, if that's a problem for you, again, absolutely, throw it in the comments below, let's discuss it. My vote is Steelix is going to be better. Number 1, because hashtag Steelix is good. Number 2, because having access to Crunch, which can deal super effective to the ghost types in this meta. That is very important. If they have more than one ghost that they're going to bring on a team, Steelix can come in very, very clutch. But also, another point with Steelix is having access to Earthquake, which you will get same type attack bonus from, which can deal double super effective to Bastiodon, can deal super effective to Mawile, super effective to Empoleon, super effective to Lucario. I mean, the Earthquake in certain situations, namely those, but also against Alola Marowak, can be game winning. So with that being said, I do feel like Steelix is the better pick in that role. Again, that's only if you bring one on your team. You could bring both of them and try to play mind games against your opponent with that weird team composition. But as far as the role itself of being, you know, kind of a ghost counter, Steelix is the way to go, in my opinion. And before we end this video, I do have one more thing for you. So let's get into it. And here is my meta moves guide for the Sinister Cup. If you do not already have this move guide and you want it, I'm going to let you just go ahead and take a screenshot of this real quick so that you can have it. There you go. I've disappeared. I'm not here anymore. Yes, take a screenshot. Now's your time. Do it. But that is it. So GG's to the battles and GG's to the video because it's all over. As always, if you did enjoy, subscribe if you feel my vibe, and power up punch the notification bell for all the PvP content. So battlers, take it one battle at a time and have a good freaking day.